Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Fit and Focused for Remote Work and Digital Nomads podcast. Today, guys, I have a treat for you. I didn't even expect that to be such an amazing story for this podcast. I'm reaching out to a lot of people in remote work and digital nomad location independent living space, and sometimes you just find those people who are real gems, something special in the community, creating the infrastructure, the foundation of those communities. And today is such a story. Today I'm going to be talking to Uwe from Austria. Well, originally from Austria. Right now he's actually in Tallinn attending one of the Mind Valley's event. A lot of you probably are familiar with Mind Valley on this podcast. If you're not, look them up. If you're into personal development, you can find a lot of very interesting things to develop the self, to learn a lot of fascinating stuff, to improve your living, yourself, your business, your consciousness. So check them out. But today we're not about Mind Valley. We are about Uwe, who is attending the event right now. He is spending these days a lot of time in Bulgaria, Bansko, where he has built with a co-founder, co-working space, and then a company to help you take care of your taxes and perhaps change your residency and move to Bulgaria to become a member of conscious community of location independent, very conscious and aware entrepreneurs who want to build, I would say, a new world. And then also Uwe is a passionate sailor and created retreats, digital detox, disconnected kind of retreats for keyboard warriors. Those are just a couple of things that Uwe is into and passionate about. Besides that, he is just a very fascinating human being, a lot interpersonal development. And on this podcast, you're going to hear about him talking about his approach to nutrition and how he applies Pareto 80-20 rule to eat healthy, but also enjoy a brownie once in a while. Or you'll learn how Uwe is feeling his way through a lot of those self-development protocols that you might have tried, from meditation to journaling and morning pages, from the artist way, if you're familiar with that, to exercise and movement and cold plunges and breathing. So Uwe is into a lot of things, and he has a lot of very practical tools and concepts that will help you to develop different aspects of your health, of your physical, of your mental health. Also will help you to think about your practices that you have around social connections and being a part of the community, or becoming the part of that community, or perhaps building the foundation for your own community wherever you are. It doesn't have to be building villages and houses like Uwe is planning to do. It can be something simple as organizing, a walking or hiking club or meetup, right? So without further ado, guys, by the way, you're also going to learn why back taxes might be important and how Uwe can help you with that. So from business to personal development to self-awareness and learning and becoming a location independent freedompreneur. Without further ado, please tune in to our fascinating conversation with Uwe. That for sure will give you, again, a lot of tools and concepts to develop the self, develop your business, and create more freedom and more connections in your life. So enjoy. Uwe, welcome to Fit and Focused for Remote Work and Digital Nomads podcast. I'm really happy to have you on this podcast because you seem to be involved in, digital nomad lifestyle and a lot of things that we are passionate about in such a deeper way. Like, you're building so many things that, of course, you're going to tell our listeners about, right? So really happy to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela, for inviting me. It's my pleasure being here.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, thank you for being such an awesome guest and giving us your time. So tell our listeners, about yourself. Again, I read that you do sailing retreats, building villages, you started with co-working. So maybe let's start at the beginning. How did your interest in digital nomad lifestyle start? Where did it begin?
That's a great question. I love it. So the thing is, I'm Austrian. So originally I grew up in the most western part of Austria, close to Switzerland and Liechtenstein, Germany. And you would wonder, how come that I started sailing? Because I grew up in the mountains, skiing and whatnot. However, at some point I got interested in sailing, and then I took a sailing lesson and I deepened my knowledge, and I dedicated 2 years of my life or 1.5 only for sailing. So I went only sailing with all
Where was it?
ships.
Like some lakes?
All over the place. It was in the Baltic Sea. It was in the Adriatic Sea. It was like so Mediterranean Sea. I crossed the Bengal Sea, the Indian Ocean, and this is actually where everything began. At some point, I realized, this hamster wheel. I was in a corporate job. I had a great job, a great salary. Everything was really, really cool. But then I asked the question, why I'm doing this? For whom do I do this? And then this is where the next day I had to quit the job. It was such a profound insight that I said, no, I'm not living the dream of somebody else. I want to live my own dream. I didn't know then what to do. But I started with sailing, and then whilst crossing the Bengal Sea, this was a project by the name of Cobalt. So I met these people, I met digital nomads, and I instantly connected, and I knew exactly this is my tribe. These are the people I want to surround myself with. And so I started traveling. I went to all these places, Bali, Penang, Northern Thailand.
How long ago was it?
That was in 2014, 2015, around that time. And but then I quickly realized that this living out of the luggage and traveling all the time, this is not my style. So I had a hard time, so to say, living this nomadic lifestyle. And however, on this boat trip, I met Matthias Seidler, and he became my business partner. And we said, okay, let's do something. Let's create a co-living space. Let's create a co-working space, or somehow, and I was really intrigued by this idea. And we started thinking about all sorts of things. However, nothing fell in place. We had a hard time. It was either the landlord or the premises that didn't work. It just, somehow it didn't work out.
And where was that? Where were you at this point? And were you doing anything else for work at this point? Or you kind of living off savings? People love details. So that's what I'm curious about.
Well, yes, I also have a real estate business. I'm also in real estate. And I learned from the nomads, how can I make myself obsolete, that I don't have to be present all the time? And when I learned that, I learned so many things from the nomads. And then I tried to apply this knowledge to my situation. And for me, it really worked out quite easily. As I'm renting out flats, I gave it away to how do you call it, to somebody who takes care of all these things, an agent. And so for me, it was quite easy, actually, this step, to get location independent. And this is what I would like to call myself nowadays. Rather than I'm nomadic, I like to have a base somewhere. And it makes things for me easier if I know where my coffee maker lives, and I can leave my ski stuff there and so on. So this makes my life easier, to be honest. But however, at that time in 2016, in Austria, we couldn't find any place, to build a co-living. At that time, we wanted to build a co-living space. But then a friend of ours, Jürgen Engelbosch, he invited us, and he said, hey, why don't you come to Bulgaria and look into Bulgaria? And then we put a delegation of friends and interested people together. So we went, 6 of us, we went to Bulgaria, and we were particularly intrigued by Bansko, by a skiing area, as we come from Austria and, whatnot. So we looked at Bansko, and we knew the winter will be great, but we didn't know about summer. So we went there in summer.
Mm-hmm.
And Angela, this was summer 2016. And I tell you something, everything just fell in place right at the right time, at the right spot, bang, bang, like everything just happened. And as the thing just happened, we were in the flow. We just had to say yes. And, like Matthias and I, we looked at each other and we are like, shall we do it? And it was so easy to say yes, but then it also became clear, because accommodation is so affordable in Bulgaria, that we said, okay, forget about co-living. We focus solely on co-working, which was at that time, I think, the right decision. And what can I say? It's a success story. So we built a community over the course of 3 years, and people kept coming, and we didn't understand in the beginning. But lots of nomads, they don't have thick jackets. So all of them came in summer, but we didn't realize, we always thought winter is our time, our peak time.
Yeah.
But it was actually summer. And I must say, the summer in Bansko is just gorgeous. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
We have this forest, we have these mountains. We love it there, and in the meantime, we have grown such a big community. Many of them bought a place there in Bansko, as it is also very affordable. It's around 20 grand to get the studio or so. So our community grew, and we have now lots of people who have a base there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the also event. Digital Nomad Fest is one of the most popular events. And when you look at the websites, the most popular digital nomads, villages or places to live, Bansko is one of them, top of them, So, and I can't wait to visit, with this Russian-Ukrainian crisis, it got harder for me to travel. But in autumn, winter, I'm definitely going to be checking out, Bulgaria and Bansko. So
I can highly recommend.
Yes. So co-working, right? That's where you started, and it got successful and it's growing. What about other things that you're passionate about now that you mentioned in our communication, like co-living and also sailing retreats, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, as our audience grew, as this nomad circle grew in Bansko, naturally you think about other things, and I see so many nomads, tipping their time away on their laptops and, trying to grow their business, trying to do this and whatnot. And I found, as an entrepreneur myself, it's so easy to you're just away from your business by opening your laptop, right? And it's so easy that you work a lot and get things done and whatnot. But then it becomes very difficult to disconnect, to say, no, today I don't open my laptop. Today I try, this or do that and so on. And I thought, since sailing is my passion, it's one of my passions, my biggest passions probably. And I just love the sea. Angela, if you have never been sailing, I can highly recommend. You're in the middle of this nature. You're in this little capsulate, in this little nutshell, and you observe, you have this water.
And no Wi-Fi probably, that is good.
Yeah. So, and then I thought, I want to bring this to the nomads. I want to take them away from their laptops. I want to do retreats, close your laptop, no Wi-Fi, and go offline for a while, for a week, for two, how long you can afford. And I tell you, your land life becomes a distant dream after 2 weeks, and then you're completely in this. And when you step off the boat, you're like, no, I want to go back,
No, I love water, so yeah, that sounds like a wonderful getaway for people. And again, because, it's sea, also you don't have connection there, and you kind of forced just be present and away from it all. So
exactly, you gaze at the waves, and it's just, it takes you to another dimension. It's just great to be there.
Yeah, so that's amazing. So now, those sailings retreats as a way to disconnect from all the working and co-working and co-living, right? You also mentioned that. Is it something that you're working on right now or thinking about starting? Co-living,
So
that's what I meant.
yeah, co-living is another thing. I mean, I help people to get residency and with business formation with mystartbulgaria.com. So I found that this is something, Bulgaria is great, but client or customer service doesn't really exist. And I found that many people found themselves in the problem, okay, how can I do this? How can I get about these things? And I wish somebody like me were there when we started out, because it was very complicated. We had to go through all these steps and whatnot. And then, this business idea, or somebody mentioned it to me, Uwe, it would be so much easier, to have somebody taking care about these things, so I can focus on the things I love to do. And then I thought it's actually a great idea. I have a lot of experience myself, as we started a couple of companies in Bulgaria. And then I thought, okay, I can actually offer this to the nomads. And this is when I started mystartbulgaria.com. And this journey is doing great. I offer this service since 2.5 years or so. And this journey has been awesome. I met so many cool people and got to know so many stories, and it's really nice. For me, it's a great feeling to help these people out. And then, as interests shift a bit, so we thought about co-living, and co-living is something. It's just the next logical step of co-working, I believe, as the community can grow a bit closer. I think we are a very close-knit community, but sometimes you just want to hang out with people more closer and have an easier way of entrance. When you come to Bansko, the first things people ask all the time, and we have actually a wiki, we wrote a wiki page to help people really to step easier into this game, because the questions are always, how can I get accommodation? How do I do this? Blah, blah, blah. And then the list is long, right? And so I think with co-living, it makes the thing just easier. And I think that's the next step. And another thing I'm working...
No, I just wanted to mention, you're building an infrastructure, a specific place for everything related to digital nomads. So as you mentioned, so they could have everything taken care of.
Absolutely. And I think, I think in one way, it makes the process easier. You book a ticket and you're there, or you buy yourself in and buy an apartment or whatever. And it's just easy to do that. And it makes the entrance easier, And then, the idea is, if you travel, the first thing is, first of all, when you remember some really exceptional travels, what is it that made the thing so memorable? And it's always the people, right?
Yeah.
By the end, it's always the people. And so the first thing you do when you travel is you try to find your tribe, right? But if your tribe is condensed already in either a small town like Bansko or in a building like co-living, it just makes things a bit easier for you, and you meet instantaneously people you like to hang out with, so to say, and spend your spare time with, right?
Yeah. So what's your idea of co-living? I'm also very curious about the space, because before coming to Playa del Carmen, Mexico, I spent 10 months in London, and I lived in the biggest co-living building there. So it's kind of like a village in a huge building, and we had our gym, our pool, like events, etc. And it made the place, the city, felt like home so fast, and I made my best new friends there. It's amazing. And, I think that is the future. And so what's your concept, right? There was in London, there was this huge building with a lot of facilities. What do you have in mind for Bansko?
So honestly, on this co-living, out of co-working Bansko, it's Matthias who is working on this really. So I'm not so much involved with all of this. However, for me, and as you asked, the next step is actually, I have been introduced to regenerative villages. So my idea of co-living, so to say, is more co-housing. So for me, it's building an intentional community housing village where you can buy a house. And as Bulgaria has been proven to be really affordable when it comes to buying land, and also there are many affordable solutions out there to buy housing for a very affordable price. So what I would like to offer is intentional community for people who want to take it to the next level. You know, like co-living can be sometimes really condensed, you know, and good thing, bad thing, who knows, right? So, and what I would like to offer is affordable housing so that people can get out of this hamster wheel rather than buying something expensive where you have to pay the mortgage over the course of 30 years. You know, this shocks me all the time. I call it modern slavery, to be honest, you know. You're with these banks, you're not really owning. And I want to offer an alternative that is affordable for people who like to live in a community, in an intentional community, but also in a regenerative way. So like solar system, taking the water that is available, refurbishing water, you know, like, and so on and so forth. But, you know, also offering a private space. So you have your own house, 80, 100, 120 square meters, and you have your own garden. So you can choose when you want to go to the community building. You can choose when you want to hang out with the community, connect deeper, meditate together, organizing events, and so on and so forth. But you have your private space where you can just fall back to. And if this is affordable enough, and you can also escape this hamster wheel and aim towards financial freedom in your near future. So that's one of the things I'm working on.
Yeah, I mean, that is amazing. And, you know, I, at some point, want to also get involved. Like, I love organizing also things like, you know, meals, I don't know, all of these other aspects of living that are human that we need to take care of to live together. But then, you know, I also wanted to point out the aspect of it that you mentioned that is very important, I think, for a lot of nomads. I also noticed they're quite they are extroverted to some degree, but they're also very introverted. They need their private space, right? And a lot of times when I would join some co-livings, I felt like there was no, you know, that like a private space where people can also get, you know, together by themselves, you know, without anyone actually having their private space, their private time, and just be in their own bubble for a while, right? So that's very cool that you're doing also, you know, that like kind of have community.
I think sometimes you want to hide, you want to withdraw a little bit, you know, like it's, you know, like the thing is, I believe community is so important for us, you know, like when I was working, living and having fun with digital nomads just right next to me, you know, like the first 3 years I was really within the management of the co-working space, and I was really close to everyone, and it was really close-knit community. You know, it kickstarted so many things in my life. And I think this is one of the easiest things to do, is to choose your community, choose who you're surrounded with. And then, you know, like this is an uplift, this is an energy burst, or I don't know what you want to call it. And it can really kickstart many things, you know, like in a very short period of time. So choosing your community well is something I suggest always, you know, to people, because it's just amazing living amongst amazing people, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, they inspire you. You get so many ideas, right? They shape you. It's like, it's very popular saying, you are the average of 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And that just goes to all the people that you allow into your circle, and like what kind of people surround you, that's the kind of person you're going to become, you know, sooner or later. So having that community. And, you know, another aspect that you mentioned, I believe also like very important, and most digital nomads realize it sooner or later, that without community, without people that you connect with, any place you go to, it's empty. It's like the difference between, I always like this difference between a postcard that is just a postcard you buy at, I don't know, at some kiosk, right? That is empty, just with some picture, and a postcard that's written by someone, that is sent to you by someone, that has, the soul, that someone's rating. It completely two different things. One is just a thing you're probably going to throw away if you have too much luggage. The other one, like, you're going to carry around with you, around the world. Like, it's the most precious thing on earth, right? The same with people. Like, once you have the community, this place feels like home. It becomes a special, like, point on earth. So
exactly.
Yeah.
But also, like, on top of this, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think on top of this, what we have seen the last 2 years, like what was happening, I think it becomes even more important to have, like, this community close by, and, living in an area, like, where you have the freedom of roaming, like, and if it's even a small space, so to say. I have in mind something with 12,000 to 20,000 square meters, with a community building and stuff like this. But also, if you live more in the rural areas, for us, it was much easier to roam around or to have a walk in the forest or whatnot, and still you could somehow connect with people. And I think, like, it shows that the times, you never know what happens, right? And being amongst people, I had great 2 last years, I must say, like, because I always felt this freedom somehow, even if traveling was not quite so possible, but still we had this freedom, and we could connect, and it was a great time, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
And not many people say that, like, they want to eradicate or erase the last 2 years, where I say, like, it was great. We could walk in the forest, we could still hang out in small groups, and it was okay, right?
Yeah,
and
and so people,
so important.
Yeah, the community. There was another thought, but I think I forgot it. Man, anyhow, let's maybe a community, very important aspect. It's one of the things that I heard from nomads all over again. Like, the people, especially if you're at the beginning of your journey, you need to take care of community, of connections, of people. And if you want to do it long term, otherwise, you're burn out, you'll get lonely. It's going to start feeling, like a lonely journey that you don't necessarily enjoy all the time. So people are important. Social aspect. A few other things that I'd like to talk about, this is podcast also about lifestyle, being either location independent or digital nomad, full of part-time. It's a lot about being your own person, right? And defining your own rules and creating your own lifestyle. Can you talk a little bit more about your routines around lifestyle, nutrition, fitness, mental health, right? How do you keep yourself this whole person that is healthy, that is living full life? What are some routines, non-negotiables, advice you have for people to organize this area?
Yeah, that's a good one. And I love this question, to be honest, because I think, like, it's easy to look at one aspect, but then, like, if you look holistically, it becomes a little bit more tricky, right? So, eating healthy is one of the things you can easily focus on. But I think, like, it's all the levels, like, it's spirituality, it's your body, it's the mental health, like, and those things are really important. And if you leave the other things out or behind, or if you don't touch on them, I think it becomes very difficult. And also, like, in our community, there is lots of people who are into biohacking or longevity or into these topics. And I think, like, I'm not sure whether I want to live forever. I think it's also good if at some point I can say goodbye. But at the moment, I love my life, and I live a very happy life, to be honest. I'm really grateful for, and I feel privileged. However, I think, like, all this, you have to focus on all these things. And I think one of the things that stood out for me always was personal development. And for me, it's very important, like, one thing I started, I can't remember, maybe 4 years ago, I read about morning pages,
By
and
Julia Cameron, right?
yes, exactly. Yeah. And morning pages describes like you take 10, 15 minutes in the morning and you just put a brain dump, basically everything you have in your head on a piece of paper. And I started by by putting notes on my phone, and then I found, I use a fountain pen now, and I have a proper journal and I'm journaling. And it's profound. I just told this story actually yesterday. One day I woke up, and I'm like, hey, actually, this is not working out, and this client of mine is not happy. And then I had suddenly a couple of things I thought about that just don't work out in my life, and then I'm like, heck, the more I think about it, the more things come to my mind. So I quickly opened my journal and I put the list together with the things that don't work out, and I came up with a list of 9 items, right? And I put everything down and I wrote a little bit about my emotions, that I'm not happy about this, I closed my journal, I put it away, and I kid you not, 3 hours later, 8 of these items, I crossed them out, right?
How did you do that? Like, were they just in your mind, or what do you mean by that?
Well, actually, I think we make a fuss out about things that aren't really a fuss. But either consciously or subconsciously, I, of course, started working on these things, like how can I make this client happier? How can I do this? And how, but also a few things, they just, bang, they solve themselves. And I cannot say, of course, I worked on it, yeah, but also, but just putting it out, but just getting it out of your system, I think this is so healthy.
Yes, and, not holding anything in, that's for sure.
And I tell you something, journaling has been proven to be an awesome tool. I don't use it on a daily basis anymore, but whenever something comes in my mind or I feel a little bit overwhelmed, I take out my notepad and I will just put things down, and this helps me a lot.
Yeah.
Also, I think, yeah.
Go ahead. No.
Also, one thing that is really useful is fasting, especially the daily fast. Trying to keep a small window where I eat only, and I found it keeps me more energized, and it's good to have a hungry mind and a hungry body in a way, So those things I'm really convinced about.
What do you do these days? What's your fasting window looks like?
I think you call it, I forgot the name of it.
Intermittent fasting, probably, right?
Intermittent fasting, that's the word, yeah, I was looking for. And intermittent fasting is something I really like to do. But sometimes, and I must say, I try to treat myself, and then I buy a brownie maybe. Coffee is still on my list somehow.
Yeah.
But I try to be healthy. I try to eat.
Coffee too.
I try to live this Pareto principle. So 80-20,
yes.
And so if I eat 80% healthy, I think that's a good thing. So if my sins are only 20%, that's something I can keep in check somehow. And nowadays I like to eat less meat and focus more on vegetarian or vegan options. And I had a smoothie today. This was so great. The green smoothie with bananas, and it is really, really nice. I really like the taste of it, and salads. I'm a big fan of salads too.
So let's dig deeper a little bit about nutrition, because people love details. So when do you eat? What time is your fasting window? What do you usually have for like lunch and dinner, or breakfast and lunch? Depending when you eat. What are some of those details? And also, I actually wanted to ask you, how do you define 80-20? Because sometimes we say 80-20, but how does it usually look in practice? Like, where do you define your 20?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, some things are just by feeling, like I don't do nutrition journaling or something like this. Sometimes it comes in my mind and I would write it down. But I think, like it's also one of the most important things is, I think, to listen to your body, when you're sick. For instance, I got COVID 4 weeks ago or something like this. And I just didn't eat for 2 days. I just didn't feel like it. I wasn't hungry, for instance. And it's like listening to your body, because digestion takes a lot of energy, And I mean, you feel this, right? How do you call it? Food coma, right? Especially when you participate in an event, right? In the afternoon, all the eyes closed, in the chairs, right? And I think, like if you listen to your body, and especially after you ate something, and I think this is really important, because that gives you a good sense, like if something doesn't feel right, or you feel your digestion, it probably that food wasn't. And we are also individual, right? So what's good for you might not work for me so well, like, and I think we need more to listen to our body as we go about our day.
So again, when do you fast? What do you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Sorry, with all my questions, you forgot about that.
I didn't answer that. Sorry. So usually in the morning I drink water first, preferably warm water or hot water, and so just to give my body enough water. Sometimes I take supplements. And it really depends. So sometimes I feel like I need vitamins or this or that, and I don't have a strict plan on that. And then I have a coffee. I love cappuccino, so I have an oatmeal cappuccino, and then I go about my day, right? And in the usually during lunchtime or so, I get hungry, and then I feel a little bit into it. Sometimes if you drink, because you may forget to drink or so, sometimes if you drink, the hunger goes away. And then I can eat maybe between 12 or 2 o'clock. And it really depends, like sometimes I have a meeting, we go to a restaurant or so, but otherwise I would cook some vegetables at home, like zucchini, paprika I like a lot, and like vegetables, whatever the fridge offers. If the fridge doesn't offer anything, I like to go and have like a salad or a light meal, and then I'm good for the afternoon usually. But sometimes it's a piece of bread. It depends really, Also, then in the evening I try to eat as early as possible, because I found if I eat too late in the evening, so best is 4 hours. If I haven't eaten anything before going to bed 4 hours before, I'm usually sleeping very well. And I think sleep is something we overlook very easily. And sleep is one of the most important things. So I can feel it in the morning. If I slept well, if I slept good, I'm energized. I can get so much work done in 3-4 hours. And it just works better for me. So I think, like rather than looking exactly of my nutrition, is to find your own nutrition, to listen to your body, and see, like, especially afterwards, after you ate something, how does that feel? Is your stomach grumbly or whatever, and then start to find the right foods that really suit you and make you happy.
That's so important. A lot of people don't pay attention to how they feel after a meal. Do you feel energized, or you feel like going to bed and negative and anxious? Those are the signals, like whether food works for you or doesn't. And depending on how you feel, you gotta adjust it or leave it as it is if it works, right? So that is so important. Like a lot of people don't pay attention to. And sleep, of course, I couldn't agree more. Some people think like, if I sleep less, I'll do more. But actually, that's not the way it works. Yeah. You just have more working hours.
The better you sleep, the more you can get done. Like it's the thing, like when you work, it's we talk about efficiency and effectiveness and so on and so forth. But I tell you something, if you're energized, things will come easier to you. You find, like sometimes you're rumoring about the task or something, but like if you're energized, this task goes maybe like this, right?
Yes.
And if you're not fully spot on, that task may drown all your energy, right?
That's
And
so
I think,
important.
I also think, many people say they are night owls. And somehow I believe only half of this. So
Yes.
I don't know. I think in the morning time after a good sleep, for me at least, I can say, like it works the best. I have my productive times in the morning for sure.
Yeah. But, I actually want to ask you a question, because a lot of people, especially people who change locations often, they're like, but how do you deal with all the like social engagement? A lot of them happen at night. So how do you kind of manage that balance, still meet people or do things and at the same time get your sleep and get your work done? Do you have any advice on that, on how you handle that?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'm a bit special with that. I don't know, but I try to plan my social events more. Like first of all, I like to hang out with certain people. So I also try, of course, not always, but if I can choose, I try to look with whom to hang out, what to do, and so on and so forth, rather than going to every party where, like it's just drowning and you have all these different energies. And, like it depends. I like to have a deep talk or a deep conversation rather than many conversations that, like are just, you forget about them. And I think, planning helps. Also, as in the afternoons, usually I get most of my work done in the morning, so I can do something in the afternoon. I can go for a hike with somebody, or I can organize something. Like if you live in a community where people are available, they might join you for, I don't know, for a motorbike ride, for hanging out somewhere, for an ATV ride, or for a downhill ride, or whatever you is on your mind or you like to do. And then for the parties, like if you go for a party, go for it and immerse fully in it. Like be there. I also like to go to festivals where I think, I meet more quality people, and this is more important to me, and more open-minded, with a growth mindset. And I just like to be around these amazing people, it makes me,
Uwe, what I'm hearing, like you talk a lot about being intentional, in those events, in those interactions, and choosing, your schedule, or even if you decide to do night thing, it's, the right thing, the one that you chose to have, right? And then just go fully in. I think, a lot of people having problems because they didn't put that much thought into the events and people they want to hang around with. And that's why they kind of like go to all of these parties that a lot of which happen at night, and that's when their health or sleep or other aspects of their life start to suffer. And, you reminded me also of one thing. When I lived in London in a co-living, I actually organized a walking club. And that was it was 7 p.m. at night. We would go for an hour walk before bed, and that was the thing that we did for a community. And I'm out of there for almost a year, and it's still going. Right?
Amazing! That's great. That's great. You left good energy behind, my dear.
So what I'm also trying to say is, you can organize those things. Don't wait for things to happen in the afternoon or early hours. Be the one who organizes that, and you'll get around the right kind of people who need the same, I don't know, walking or biking or playing music, whatever that might be. So that's such a great point.
I'm so happy that you mentioned this, because one of the things I'm trying to work on is, because one of my biggest fears is not to live my life fully and to live out of the decision of anxiety, in this small black box. I want to live fully, and therefore the comfort zones are my enemy. So I try to tear down the walls of comfort zone every day, and it's a sneaky bastard, I tell you. It crawls in, like very silently, and bang, there it is, right? And I think, like what you're saying is, by creating something, maybe it's out of your comfort zone, but by doing it, you challenge yourself, and you might find something you haven't seen before. Like I organize hikes, for instance, as well, in in the beautiful Pirin Mountains in Bansko. And, like usually there's always more people attending than you first think, like that would. But if it's something easy, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes morning meditation or something like that, like which lifts you up, or if it's just a breathing technique or whatever, like, and if you start small and then you find yourself, that's actually great. And when people like it, you get a good feedback and it's just the walls of comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. I always consider myself to be introvert, but I started this walking club, and every night I had this, pushing myself a little bit out of this comfort zone because I had to meet new people, but I always loved it, and exactly. It developed me as a person also so much. So yeah, thank you for awesome. Sharing this also. Another couple of aspects that I'd like to touch upon is exercise and mental health. Do you have, certain practices, things that you do regularly for that?
Yes. So I personally love the nature. So I think the nature is just an amazing place to be. And because, like if you walk through a forest, it's a wind coming through, you see the trees moving. It's just, for me, being in the nature, I love water, as a sailor. I mean, what can I say? I also love forest walks, but being in the nature is one of the things. So for me, it's hiking, so active hiking. So it depends. Sometimes I just stroll around, have an easy walk, but sometimes I take my hiking sticks and I want to, like really go for it. The fitness, like going to a gym is, sometimes I do it, but for me, the gym is like an option, if it's raining or something like this. Yeah. So I try to keep that on a minimum, so to say. But other than that, swimming, hiking, what we also do is cold dips.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. In wintertime, it's a bit more hard, but in the summertime, it's great. In winter, we have actually Bulgaria, and probably not many people know, Bulgaria has a lot of hot springs.
Oh, wow.
So an awesome ski day is usually a couple of hours skiing very early morning. So like 8 o'clock, we are out on the piste already. And maybe 11, 12 o'clock, I'm back home working a little bit, and in the evening going to a hot springs. I tell you something, that is a blast. And we have hot springs really close to Bansko, like 10 minutes drive or so. And they have also a cold pool. So you can go from the hot pool outside, it's outside, you can go from the hot pool and jump in the cold. And I tell you something, you do it the first time and you hate that you did it, okay? And then you go back to the warm. You do it the second time and you're like, oh, actually, that's nice. You do it the third, the fourth, and the fifth time, and you start loving it. And this is one of the things I really like. So, and it keeps me awake. I can feel this. And I think, like for the body, it's one of the most amazing things.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most amazing things to actually train your cardiovascular system and your immune system, because, every time you change the temperature, the blood goes in and then goes out. And also things like dopamine, norepinephrine rushing, like making you focus, motivated, right? I'm from Russia, Siberia originally. So like banya and plunging into snow, that's like a part of our culture. So I'm familiar with the concept.
Amazing. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. And even the science goes even deeper on this. I mean, if you listen to Dave Asprey, for instance, he says that the bad cells that don't turn on the heat, they get kicked out, flushed out by your body, so it can be really Jungbrunnen, as we say in German, keep you young,
So that's awesome practice. And also, it probably helps you with mental health. At least that's what I hear from research, all this temperature, procedures when you cold plunge, especially, and you change the temperature from cold to hot, that's really good for mental health. Besides that, what other practices you might be having for mindfulness, like maybe meditation or breathing or anything?
Yeah, I'm a Buddhist personally, so I came in contact with meditation years ago, and meditation is one of the things you can move mountains with, I believe, And for me, keeping a daily meditation is essential for me. And I think that's really something, sometimes we find ourselves in this situation where we just react, right?
Yeah.
There's no space. You get something, you get information, somebody is shouting at you or angry or any other situation, I don't know, in traffic or so, and there's no space. You just react. You show the one of the fingers and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And meditation gives you this little space where you can decide, do I react or do I wait a moment? And I think, like this little space means the world to me, like, and that's why I think meditation is one of the things. But other than that, like personal development, I also listen to Sadhguru. Sometimes he has these small little video clips online. I find them very cool, actually, and get some insight there. But also having a support group, like where you can share with. And one of the things which I just I'm here in Tallinn. I'm visiting Mind Valley. I don't know whether you know about it.
Yes, no.
Currently, it's the Mind Valley University. So I booked myself in. It just resonated with me, and we just had a course for lucid dreaming. And I did a course maybe 8 months ago or so. And lucid dreaming is one of the things I'm really passionate about. It's an amazing tool. And I think if you think that, a third of your time you're asleep, right? So if you can use this time for you, how amazing is that? And I think this is one of the things I'm involved with. I keep a dream journal.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much healing that can happen actually within the dream. And also I think that's healing for the mind. And it keeps me on my toes.
Dreaming, it's rapid eye movement sleep stage. And that's what the scientists say, that it is the essential part of sleep where our brain works on our mental health, like incorporating all the experiences, putting them together, figuring it all out, how it fits all together. So you're right, dreams are very, very powerful, and I personally know if I wake up from dreams, remembering those dreams, I had, really good night of sleep. I know that I'm going to be feeling really good next day.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So dreams can be so vivid. You think it's for 4HD. It's like it's very vivid. It can be very vivid, and I love this adventure dreams when we do something, or like it really is a nice thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a nice thing. Sometimes I'm like really surprised by what my mind comes up with. I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. So you never know. It's always a surprise, right?
Exactly. About meditation, do you have any specific practice? Do you use some app maybe, or like a certain kind of meditation?
So I think it's a journey, like everything in life, a little bit, so as I said, like there's lots of Buddhist meditations I did in the past. And then I thought, maybe it's not everything out there, right? And I came across the book from Emily Fletcher. She wrote a book about meditation. And I thought, like, I have meditated so much, maybe I don't need to learn anything new, But then I came across her book and I found her technique really interesting. And she also combines meditation with manifestation phase and also relaxation, like a mindfulness session before the meditation. And so, like coming from a relaxed space from your body into this relaxed state of mind. And then by the end, exiting with the manifestation. I found this really useful, but there's so many different meditations out there. It's hard for me to really give a hint or a tip, like for people that they can, hook in with.
Well, I just wanted, to know your thing. Like, what do you do? Like, I use apps, actually. I love guided meditation. So I like to put something into my ears and just follow the instruction. And they sometimes can be breathing, sometimes body scans, sometimes visualizations, so different ones. But I wrote down the book.
But maybe there's one thing which really, I think it's very short and very brief, which really helps a lot. Sometimes you have these moments where you just surrender. Do you know this moment?
Yeah.
And and you can just do it. You can just deep in briefly, and then like make this sound, like whilst you exhaling. And I think like if you start your meditation with this, it's like you're already refreshed. If you do this 3 times or 5 times, you feel already refreshed, and then you go into the meditation. And sometimes my meditation is just emptiness. It's just not doing or thinking anything. If thoughts come up, I try to observe them from the observer view. Sometimes I have also guided meditations, but the guided meditations, I try to be very picky. I don't know. It's not everything for everyone.
Yeah.
But if you like those, and if it works for you, it's like everything. It's like food, right? When you ate something, how do you feel afterwards? And with meditation, it's the same thing. Like try something for a week or for a couple of days, and try to figure out, like, how was that? Did it work for you? And if not, try something different. There's Muse. They have this friend of mine. He has this Muse band, and
that gives you feedback.
And I don't know, it's these gimmicks companies want to sell you, and I'm not sure, maybe, but you don't need, just be yourself, just calm down, calm the chatter down, and just be yourself, be in nature, be in the flow, this flow state. Kotler wrote this book.
He wrote several, The Rise of Superman, Stealing Fire.
That's the one I had in mind. Stealing Fire. I think it's a great book. And these flow states and being more conscious, more attuned to, to your states of mind, like, are you happy now? Are you angry now? Pay attention. And I think, like having this attention span, like is something I like to practice every day.
Yeah. I mean, meditation, I think that's what it's for, to have your attention and to also be aware of what's happening in your head. And also, I think not associating yourself with your thoughts, but being an observer, as you mentioned, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
But some people say meditation is not for them, and I don't know. Like if you can be in the flow, you may not need it, but I think like it can be an amazing tool to have in your toolbox. And I personally, I love it, And,
some people also use journaling, walks in nature, like sports like sailing or doing other stuff in nature. They also use it as a kind of meditation that allows them to like be by themselves and also observe a lot of things. So thank you, Uwe, for sharing all of this. We are almost, at 1 hour mark, and I'm sure you have things to do and life to live, right? So in the last few minutes, is there something else you'd like to share with the community? Maybe a tip and advice, like, some parting thoughts that you think is very important for people to kind of take away from this episode?
Well, you put me a bit on the spot here, and I think I have too many things in my mind to tell the people, like we can reach easily the 2 hour mark. But one thing, especially for nomads, what I'm really concerned about, and I think that's something very easy you can take care of right now, or maybe this week, is thinking about your future and being future proof. And I think this is very important. As you enjoy your nomad lifestyle right now, which is amazing. I love all these people who put the lifestyle in their focus rather than a job or anything else. I think, have a great time, enjoy it, but also be aware of the future and don't fall into these gaps. Like when you want to go back to your home or anything, or you want to live in a particular place, maybe in Europe or so, back taxes could be something that breaks your neck easily. So, and I think it's really easy to take care about these things. Ask the right people, ask your accountant, ask somebody, and make your mind up, like what everything can happen. Maybe you want to spend more time with your parents at some point. So you go back home or whatever will happen, you never know. And I think if you take care about this now, because back taxes, for instance, is something that doesn't concern you now. The problem comes in 5 to 10 years. And this is something nomads, like I've met so many nomads that say, hey, Uwe, in 1 year time, listen to me, I don't know what I do next week. I effectively don't know what I do tomorrow. Maybe I hop on a plane. And this is great. Enjoy your lifestyle, but also be aware of your future and make decisions and at least get information right now, and then go about your lifestyle and enjoy it fully. Knowing that you are also future proof. And I think this is one of the tips I want to leave the audience with, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's, one of the best tips you can give people, be spontaneous, live your life now, but also remember that there is the future that's going to come, and you probably want to design that future. So it is the future that you want to live in, right? So, and that goes to taxes and your business and your relationships and your health. A lot of those things, you start doing small things now, in the future, you're going to have a lot of benefits or a lot of negative surprises.
Being aware of the impact, and I think this is important.
And so the last thing, Uwe, you shared so much, so I'm so grateful already. Where people can find you, what are a few best places? I'm already gonna obviously link all of the project that you engaged with, the co-working, the sailing, the co-living, the tax, still figuring out how this whole thing works, like for Bulgaria, taxes, changing your residency, but I'm gonna link it. People can learn more about that there. So any other places, like maybe your social media, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, where do people go?
So people can find me or get in contact with me at mystartbulgaria.com. That's probably the easiest way. Also, I have not updated sailing retreat, nomadsailing-retreat.com website. But the next sailing trip is coming up in September. So if people are interested, awesome. Just shoot me a message. You'll find me there. Otherwise, I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook. I check rarely. My LinkedIn profile, I don't know exactly, but I send you the link. Okay. And for Facebook, it's Captain Uwe. So facebook.com/Captain Uwe. You can find me there. But on Facebook, I try not to go too deep with Facebook anymore.
I can understand why, social media, different kinds can eat up your time and mind space. So yeah, totally get it. I'm going to link everything in the show notes and people will find you. And I'm sure they're going to find a lot of interesting projects and would want to engage and get involved. So, but again, thank you, Uwe. You were one, fascinating guest with such a richness of interest and lifestyle tips and tools. And so thank you. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Angela. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.